We're really excited to kind of start this new live streaming interaction with people who use tools for teaching. We're trying to pick up our game a little bit and start interacting with our users more and start not only to interact with our users, but provide more uh, videos and things that you guys can watch. And so we'll have some Facebook Live videos. We're going to add some YouTube videos as well. So everything we do on Facebook will be, of course, be posted and kept up on Facebook. But we'll also take these videos and post them onto YouTube when we can. And so we'll start kind of two channels going. And then as we get going with this, maybe we'll simulcast to both YouTube and Facebook at the same time, just to get us, give people a place to ask questions, to give us some ideas, hopefully to learn what you guys are doing and how you're using tools for teaching, but especially in this time of COVID when teachers are getting back to school, so many things are uncertain, so many things are changed and kind of blown up your classroom. And so we're trying to address ways that tools for teaching can be customized and used in the new virtual classrooms. What does tools for teaching look like? Because those of you who are familiar with tools for teaching know that it has a lot to do with your presence, with body language, and with your how close you are to the students, working the crowd, all those things, all that stuff that goes into the prevention part of tools for teaching has a lot to do with you being in the room with the kids at the same time. So how do we use those skills that we've developed in tools for teaching and apply them here? Because some just straight up don't apply. Others are lending themselves quite well, what we're finding out, to the virtual classrooms. And so what we're going to do today is kind of jump into one of the places that it really applies quite effectively, but also you can implement it quite easily. So every time we do one of these videos, I'm going to talk to you about things that you can do tomorrow that you can really help with your classroom and make things run more smoothly, even though your classroom is online. And so you might be the only person physically in your room, but you've got, 30 little faces looking at you, sometimes more. Maybe you're breaking out into small groups, but you've got kids coming, all these faces on your screen. They got all these faces on their screen. And how do we keep kids engaged? How do we keep them cooperating with us? Because cooperation really drives the efficiency of your classroom management. How much cooperation can we get with the kids? Because it takes cooperation in order to make your classroom run. So let's kind of look into that. And I'll be giving a little kind of, we'll be jumping into the virtual room here. So let's go into the picture-in-picture area. And here I am, and some of that's covered up. So what we'll do is we'll just break out the little green screen here so you can read everything. Pretty neat, huh? All right. So those of you who are familiar with tools for teaching have been to one of my recent workshops have seen this screen up on at the beginning of our workshop, and it breaks down how we look at classroom management. And the subtitle to discipline or to tools for teaching on the cover of the book is discipline, instruction, and motivation. So here's what we mean by those three things. Discipline is creating time on task. Okay, because the more that kids are on task, the less that they're off task. But in a traditional classroom, in a physical classroom, we have techniques for doing that can't be applied to your virtual classroom. Some of them can, some can't. And kind of maybe through these video series, we'll explore where that works. Instruction, our goal is always to create independent learners. So it's not about your curriculum per se. It's about how are we making our kids more independent? How do we make them problem solvers? And that's important now as it ever was, because you're relying on kids to do things on their own. You're not going to be handing them the materials that they need. They're going to have that themselves. They're going to have to be able to at least provide it for that, each session that you're with them. And so how do we make kids independent and ultimately grow them into young adults, right? And then we talk about motivation and giving students a reason to work. Okay. And that's where we're going to that's where we're going to spend our time today, is in motivation. Why should kids work when there's no one else in the room? Maybe they're in the room all by themselves. Maybe their parents are working kind of parallel next to them on their own computers. Maybe there's some things going on in the background, but there's no teacher in the room to kind of give them a little nudge when they need a nudge. And we've all got those students who won't do anything unless we're standing over their shoulders, right? Or just don't want to cooperate, or just are more interested in doing their own thing. And that's just multiplied in a virtual classroom because there's no teacher there. So they can wander off screen. And what are you going to do? Just kind of nag every kid that wanders off screen. Hey, Billy, come back in front of the camera. Yeah, we need everybody's faces here. Okay, could you put that down, please? From 20 miles away. So let's look at motivation and what drives students to help the teacher and to be ultimately collaborative. So we're going to jump into motivation. And motivation is giving the students a reason to work, like I just said. But more so, it's giving them a reason to cooperate. And it's asking that same question, why should I? Why should I cooperate with you? Because ultimately, cooperation is voluntary. They have to give it to you freely, or else it's not really cooperation, is it? And it's like pulling teeth just to get kids to turn their cameras on, to keep their faces in front of their cameras. You want to kind of see what the class is doing, to get ready and to get prepped, to make sure they have their notebooks at their desks there, or their pencils and their papers. All that is just cooperation. And sometimes we get it for free just because kids are kids and you've got a little bit of a relationship with them already. But as we get deeper into the school year, you get out of that honeymoon phase of just the first few weeks of school, and kids are going to be tired of being in front of their computers and sitting for long periods of time. And hopefully we're breaking up our instruction so that it's not long periods of time sitting. It's more interactive, and in a future video, we'll talk about instruction techniques and how to use input, output, have the kids doing things, put them to work, doing assignments. But how do we actually get them to do it when we're not there with them? So we have to have that voluntary cooperation. But that's still answering that why should I question. Why should they do what you ask them to do when you're not even there? So how do we do that? That's kind of a tough question. I'm sure a lot of you are dealing with it now that you're back in school and in Zoom meetings and breakout rooms with the kids. Why should I? I can, not even show up or pretend to be there and turn my camera off. Or maybe you got kids who are clever enough, and skilled enough on their computers to run a loop of them, watching the screen when they're not even there. They're just running a little video. So how do you protect against those things? I don't have all those answers, but hopefully we can give you some ways to make sure the kids want to participate. So why should I? Well, what are the students willing to work for? And that's a question that maybe each individual student has something that motivates them, but we need to look big picture. What motivates all students? What motivates all kids? Because our motivation program here has to be all for one and one for all. Everybody has to be responsible for each other's behavior. Now, in a regular classroom, it's easy for a kid to kind of keep another kid in check, meaning not in a mean way, but just, hey, come on, cooperate. Let's do this. If you get them all on your side. In a virtual classroom, it's even harder because the kids, there's no one really there. So when they see a kid goofing off in one of their screens, they're more likely to giggle, or they're more likely to just ignore it maybe, because it's not happening right next to them. So we've got to find something that every kid is willing to work for, because the power of the peer group isn't going to be there in the same way that it is in a regular in-person classroom. So what are students willing to work for? Or another way of putting it is, what is the currency of the classroom? Because currency is what people work for, right? In the real world, we all work for money. Well, we're not going to give the kids money. We're not Venmoing the kids for their cooperation. We're not paying them off. That's bribery. So the real currency of the classroom is time. How can we use time as a motivator? Okay? Well, kids love to be in control of their own time. And so let's give them some time to be in control of. And but we're going to control that time. We're going to control how much they get to begin with, and then later we'll see how much time they can earn on their own. And those of you who are familiar with our motivation techniques know where this is going, right? So we've got time as our base kind of currency. Now, what do kids want to do with time? Well, it's got to be they've got to do something that they want to do, right? This is their time. We're going to give them the gift of time. So it has to be something that is preferred, okay? A generic way of saying something that they want to do. So they're going to spend their time doing something that they want to do. Now, what's something they want to do? Well, the generic term for something to do is an activity. So we've got preferred activity time is what we're going to give them. Now, those of you who are tools for teaching already know this is PAT. Some of you have heard of PAT before because it's always kind of circulated and used by teachers around the country in lots of different classrooms, and sometimes they don't even know that it's part of Tools for Teaching. But this is where it originated. Fred Jones created Tools for Teaching, and preferred activity time is how we get every kid invested in every other kid cooperating with the teacher. It's not an individual program where there's stickers involved and check marks or whatever it is, and it's every kid for themselves, because that produces a culture of, well, I got mine. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't care what everybody else is doing. But in PAT, it's all for one and one for all. They're all responsible for how much time is earned, and they're all responsible for choosing how to spend that time and making sure that everybody is engaged. So PAT is kind of our motivation program. And we're going to get in today to kind of really what it looks like and how it works. So it's going to be a crash course in PAT. We're not going to go into the depth that we would in a workshop. We're not going to be able to kind of role play and do all those types of things. But I'm just going to give you a crash course in the basics so that you understand the basic concepts. And if you've been through Tools for Teaching already, you already know this, but a refresher is always good, because it's amazing how many times people come to me after taking the course for a second time or going through their second or third training and saying, oh yeah, why did I stop doing that? I remember doing that, or this just reinforces what I'm already doing, or hey, I'm doing this, but I just realized today how I could really improve it. Right? I can add some more things. So it's always beneficial to kind of get a second look at it. So what does PAT look like? Well, PAT, the time that you're going to spend in PAT is usually sponge activities and games. Now, sponge activities are all those little activities in a regular classroom, in your in-person classroom, that you've got pre-built into what's going on, right? So you've got maybe a board game area in the corner, maybe a little age-appropriate reading area in another corner. Maybe you got some puzzles. Those are all things, or an art project, kind of a classroom art project that's ongoing. Sponge activities means activities that are preset and ready to go, so that when kids finish early, they can clean up their desk and go and head off and do something on their own. Right? So what we're going to do is take those activities and uh, use them as a time where kids can kind of choose their own activity. Now, we would do that in a regular classroom. In a virtual classroom, you may or may not have what traditionally is known as sponge activities. So we're going to lean in heavy on games. Games are very important here because it's something that the kids can do together. And it's something that can be fun, but also educational. So we always say it's got to float your boat as much as it floats the kids' boat, right? It's got to be something that they want to do, work towards earning more time to play the game that they want to play, because if something they don't want to do, something they don't want to play, they're not going to work for you. And it's got to be something that is worth your time as an educator. So it's got to float your boat too. But in the time of COVID, in this time of virtual learning, we might loosen up on the academic value in each game. It's okay to have fun. It's okay to loosen up a little bit and maybe just play Simon Says virtually or something like that. Something that every kid, sometimes they just need kind of wiggle time, right? They've been sitting in front of a computer maybe for 10 minutes, maybe for 20 minutes, and it's time to kind of get up and move a little bit. You know, how long can your students pay attention to their Zoom screen before they start itching to move around or do something new? So you're finding that out. And it's usually the older the student, the longer they can hang, right? So for juniors and seniors in high school, maybe they can go 30 minutes, maybe they can go an hour. You know, I'm watching my own kids go through their Zoom classrooms. They're both in college now. And so they've got, 90-minute Zoom meetings with their professors, and they've got, sometimes 20, sometimes 70 kids in a Zoom meeting, and kids are going in and out. I see all the behaviors. They're turning their cameras off. They're eating lunch. The professor has to, make a rule about no eating on camera. They put themselves on mute, and they can text or listen to music while they're, it's all those nightmares that the elementary and junior high and high school teachers are worrying about. That's I see going on. And but they're 19 and 22, and they're bored out of their minds just waiting for class to end. So how long can your students stick it out for? Maybe it's 10 minutes. Maybe it's 15 minutes. Maybe older kids can stick it out for an hour, but you don't want to lecture. So you got to mix in activities that are assignment-based activities. But at the end of asking them to kind of do the assignment for 30 minutes or whatever it is, reward them for cooperating with you by playing a game. And like I said, it can be academic, it can be not academic. I can kind of leave that up to you, because you'll have the temperature of your classroom and you'll be able to figure out what they need at any given time. So we're going to lean in heavy on games. And here's how PAT works. Okay? We are going to save time through cooperation, because many of you might be asking yourselves, if I'm going to put aside all this time to play games, where do I get that from? I've only got an hour to be on this Zoom meeting with my students until we take a break and maybe we come back for an afternoon session or whatever. I got to get through the curriculum, because it's, there's a lot to get through, and we kind of lost the spring, and now we got to get kids up to speed, and we got to move forward, and who knows when we're going to get back into kind of the regular school rhythm and actual classrooms. So it might not be till after the first of the year. It might not be really safely until spring. You're talking about March or something. So I don't have a lot of time to just give away. So the way PAT works is all the lost time that you're dealing with nagging kids to get on their cameras and to get back and pay attention and do all that stuff, we're hoping to save through cooperation. Okay, Amy? Let's see what she says. The gift of free time when they get done is motivating too. I'm not required to keep them on Zoom the entire period. So when they finish, they are done, and that motivates them quite a bit. Absolutely. Just free time. Maybe you end class a little bit early. Free time is a huge motivator. It's maybe something that you would use in a regular classroom too, that they would choose from. That's when we're talking about those sponge activities, that those can be individual, they can be chosen, but you're always usually giving them a menu in a regular classroom to choose from, so that it's something that's you want them to do. But let's say if you want to end class a little bit early instead of playing a game, and the kids get to then do whatever they want, that's a huge motivator. We've seen PAT work in athletics, where football coach went through the training, used it in their classroom, and then decided to apply it to practice. And at football practice, so the coach had gotten back to us and kind of broke it all down and how he used it. And he was using VIPs in the weight room and things like that. But when they got out onto the field, they had a schedule of things to get through. Now we have 2 hours to practice. But if we can get through all of our drills and we go hard and we're done in 90 minutes, you get to go home in 90 minutes. So practice is scheduled from 4 to 6. But if we're done at 5:30 and you guys have put the work in, we're done at 5:30. Now, during a regular class period, you can't do that with your second graders, right? You can't just send them home because they've been working hard all day. But you can now. So if you want to use that as incentive, absolutely. So we're going to save time because the kids are working hard for you, because they're cooperating, and we're going to motivate them to do so by giving them that time back. So all the time that we save throughout our class period, we'll give back to the students to spend how they want to, okay? And it's usually in a game, but it can be other ways. And I'm relying on you guys to get creative, because I'll give you some examples and kind of hopefully, start the cauldron brewing of ideas. But part of this whole new thing of us getting online and doing the live videos and picking up our interactivity on Facebook and things is we want to hear back on how you guys are using these tools in your classrooms. So what kind of activities are working for you on Zoom? And we'll talk a little bit at the end. I'll throw out some ideas in terms of what activities to do. But for now, we're kind of focused on how PAT works, right? Let's just kind of get the nuts and bolts of it going. So the general idea is the more they cooperate, the more they earn. But at the beginning of this, we want the teacher to be a giver. We want you to give away time like it's going out of style. So reward them for all types of cooperation. Don't just kind of withhold it. Go ahead and give it away for free even. So before we get into that, PAT is the pump primer, or in terms of giving away time. PAT, we refer to it kind of as the whole program, but we also refer to it as an allowance. How do we start off? We're going to give away time, but it works better with an allowance. When I got an allowance, I was grateful for it and I needed it. You kind of got to a certain age where you needed some spending money and stuff, and I got an allowance. But it was the ability to earn more in addition to my allowance, adding chores to my list, doing things around the house that weren't required to get my allowance. And then it drove me to be more helpful in general. We tend to generalize those behaviors and just start doing them naturally. And that's the idea here, is that we wanted the kids to generalize cooperation so they start helping us more just naturally. So think of PAT as the pump primer. That's the allowance I'm going to give the kids. So let me give you a quick story about how this works. And this is a story that my dad always told. I don't think I even introduced myself at the beginning of the video, but I'm Patrick Jones, son of Fred Jones. And so it's Fred Jones Tools for Teaching. So he used to tell this story on me and my brother, and I'll tell it on myself now. And it's about how well my mom understood just motivation and behavior as well, because I grew up as kind of a guinea pig for a lot of this stuff, and my mom was working on it with my dad and helping him out, and they were kind of experimenting on their kids. But a lot of it just came from things that they did naturally already. When you grow up in a household that has kids, that where the parents are able to get kids to cooperate with them, you just model what your parents did. And so what my parents did was we had a bedtime routine. And this bedtime consisted of brushing teeth, washing face and hands, getting into our pajamas, and getting into bed. Now, the deal was we start our bedroom routine at 8:30. And my mom would come in and read to us as soon as we were ready for bed. And she would read until 9 o'clock. So, excuse me, I explained that incorrectly. We had to be ready and in bed at 8:30, and then we'd get 30 minutes of read time. So we'd have story time with our mom for 30 minutes. So from 8 to 8 or 8:30 to 9 would be story time. And so we would go through the bedtime routine, and when we were ready, in our beds at 8:30, and we'd get 30 minutes of story time. And no matter what, my mom turned off the light at 9 o'clock, and the story was over. So we'd read novels, and I remember the Encyclopedia Brown stories, and the Narnia, Chronicles of Narnia, those books. And we would love it. We'd read, whatever it was, 10 pages a night. And then get to pick up the story the next night. Now, after a while, my brother and I realized that if we dawdled and we weren't ready for bed at 8:30, that cut into our story time. And we really enjoyed story time. So we learned that it wasn't in our favor to be ready for bed at 8:37, because then we only got 23 minutes of story time. So we would hustle and cooperate and be ready at 8:30. And then one night, for whatever reason, I don't know if the book was really getting good, or we were really excited about getting to the next part of the story, or what, or maybe it just happened by accident. But we were ready for bed 5 minutes early. So at 8:25, we were all dressed, ready for bed, climbing under the covers, and my mom came in and started reading right away. And she made a point to remind us, now, thank you so much for getting in bed and even being early tonight. You guys know you got an extra 5 minutes of story time. And anytime you guys are ready for bed early, we'll start the story as soon as you're ready. And my brother and I thought, wow, we could get extra story time? So the next night, we were ready at about 8:20. The night before that, we're ready about 8:15. And before you know it, my mom had to kind of put limits on it, because, how long do you want to read, right? So we were getting 45 minutes of story time by taking the initiative ourselves to brush our teeth, put our toys away before time, clean it, straighten up our rooms, get in our pajamas, wash face and hands, go potty, and boom. We're, second grade in kindergarten or something like that. But that's the basis behind PAT, is that we had an allowance of 30 minutes. We knew we were going to get our 30 minutes of time. If we wasted that time, we might not get all 30 minutes. But if we cooperated and really went above and beyond, we would get even more than 30 minutes. So when I say PAT is the pump primer, what I mean is that we're going to give the kids an allowance of PAT. We're just going to give them a flat time. So today, you're going to have 5 minutes to play a game. Now, maybe that's an hour session in the morning where the kids break and then come back in the afternoon. Maybe it's a 2-hour session. Maybe you have you do it more often than that. You can do it twice within a class session. You can do it 3 times within a class session. However long you think your kids can go before they need a break. Now, they're going to be guaranteed a 5-minute break to play a game, do something fun. It could even be free time. Come back in 5 minutes, whatever it is. But that is their allowance. Next, you've got bonus PAT. It's the bonus PAT that changes behavior. Because why would just giving them 5 minutes of free time or 5 minutes of game time change anything? It won't. It's the Bonus PAT, it's the ability to add more time. When my brother and I figured out that if we got dressed for bed earlier, we get extra. That's what changes behavior. That's what drives cooperation. So let's look at bonus PAT and kind of the philosophy behind it. One, it's a student-controlled outcome, meaning that they're in control of how much time they earn. They're going to take your allowance and add as much time as they can. So by being a student-controlled outcome, it gives them ownership and empowerment over the entire process. And they really get into it because kids rarely get to control their own time. They aren't always get to choose what they do and when they do it. They're told when to get up and where to go and where to be. And maybe they've had a lot more time now that we're in COVID than they normally would, because they aren't going to baseball practice or swim lessons or anything like that. They aren't scheduled out after school. They're kind of home all day. But it's still important that they have ownership of this whole thing. So that's the idea, is they are in control of how much time they actually get. So here are the types of bonus PAT. And we're going to get into kind of the nuts and bolts of it. The first type of bonus PAT is the hurry up bonus. Now, this is anything that you can put a clock on, okay? So when we're transitioning, that's the classic one, is a lesson transition. When we're transitioning from math time to English time, they got to put away their math stuff and get out their English books or their reading books or pen and paper, whatever it is. There's a transition there. Well, how long does it normally take? Now, in a virtual classroom, things actually take less time to transition because the kids just have to kind of, grab their thing off their desk and be ready to go. Maybe they don't have it ready. Maybe they got to, run into their bedroom and come back into the living room where the computer is or whatever. But it's not like in a regular classroom where you've got to clean up and put supplies away, and they're interacting with each other. And so that slows things down and all that. So it can be fairly quick. So maybe to transition from math to English takes 30 seconds. Okay? Let's take whatever time you've allotted, whatever time you think it should take them, and let's allot double that amount of time. So let's give them a whole minute. Okay? So here's what it looks like. I'm going to put I'm going to put our PAT chart up here. And this is something you can keep it on a little whiteboard that you can hold up to the camera. If you've got a digital way to do it, you can do that. You just have a piece of paper that you hold up every once in a while. But you've got this chart on screen all the time. You figure out a way to do that, be my guest. But here's plus side and a minus side. Now on the plus side, you've got your 5 minutes of allowance. Okay, so we're gonna prime the pump with 5 minutes. This is your 5 minutes of PAT that you're guaranteed. Now, the more you cooperate, the more you can earn. So, first chance to earn. Here we go, guys. It's our first chance to earn some extra PAT to play our game. Here's how we're going to do it. I think you can do this in less than 30 seconds. I need you to put all your math stuff away and get all your English stuff out. And so that means I need you to hold up your English book and hold up a piece of a pencil to the screen so I see that everybody's ready. Okay? When I see that everybody has got it ready, then the class is ready, right? Okay. Now, it should take you 30 seconds. I'm going to give you a whole minute to do this, and I'm going to time you. So you can have your timer, a little stopwatch on the screen. If you've got a digital stopwatch that you can pop up on your Zoom screen, great. If you just want to hold up your iPhone and have it counting up, always have it counting up. We're not counting down, and you'll see why soon. We're counting up to a minute. Ready, go. So the kids start, putting their things away, getting the new things out. It's taking a little while. Now, meanwhile, what are you doing? Just making it go. All right, guys, let's keep it up. Push it forward. Get your stuff out. Oh, I see that a couple of you are ready. Don't be the last one. That kind of stuff. Just kind of making it work, encouraging them. And everybody has their paper and their pencil on the screen ready to go. Everybody's screen is on. Great. And time. And so you stop the stopwatch. And the stopwatch says that it took them, 39 seconds. Okay, so that means they've saved 21 seconds. Okay, and so we put 21 bonus seconds up on the screen. Great. So now the kids have earned 21 seconds. Now they got 5 minutes and 21 seconds to do their game later. Now, some of you may say, 21 seconds, what's the big deal? Well, how many times do you transition? Maybe in a 20-minute lesson, you do it twice. So you do it again. All right, 21 seconds is the new record. Let's try and beat our record. And you put them on the clock, and now they got to transition from one thing to the next. And it could be from one subject to another. It could just be getting out the supplies they need for the next lesson. And you tell them what they need. And this time, they save 24 seconds. So they've saved a total of 45 seconds now. Now that's an extra 45 seconds. Okay, big deal. But it adds up, right? If you're doing it for long periods of time, you got lots of transitions, then they can earn lots and lots of extra time. But we're going to add more types of bonuses to this. Okay, so what is our next type of bonus? Well, I'm sorry. Before we get to the next type of bonus, let's look up here in the minus column. Now, do we use this very often? No, we don't. But there are going to be times where the kids take longer than you expect them to take. So what do? Well, if they go over a minute, you keep it going. All right, guys, 58 seconds, 59 seconds. Let's go. Minute 1, minute 2, stop. Everybody's holding up their pencil and their paper. Great. So then minute 2, sorry guys, I got to put 2 minutes in the minus column. Now the minus column is there as your fail safe, just to make sure that that they don't go over or anything like that. You know, that there's got to be some kind of, repercussions for taking too long. But they never go over more than 4 seconds because they're trying to make the time. And even over Zoom, they're encouraging each other. Come on, guys, because they can see who's holding the stuff up and who's not, or whatever the signal is for that they're ready. And so, come on, guys, let's go. And then if they go over, it's just very little. So the third time they went over and they got minus 2 seconds on today's PAT chart. No big deal. But what are other ways during this same 20-minute lesson or 30-minute lesson that they can earn PAT? Well, what about automatic bonuses? These are things that happen right place, right time. You can't put a clock on them, so they're not a hurry-up bonus. Right place, right time. All right, automatic bonus. Let's kind of see what these are. Well, how about getting everybody to class on time? So do you have kids who are showing up tardy to their Zoom classes, that their cameras aren't on or they aren't logged in or something like that? How do we encourage them to get to class on time? How do we want the kids to be saying, Mom, I got to turn on the computer. I only got 5 minutes before class starts, instead of the other way around where mom's nagging the kid. Say, hey, come on, I turned on the computer for you. I logged you in. You got to be, over here. So what is ready for you? What is in class in a Zoom classroom? Is it in front of the camera with their supplies, with the mic on? Do you want the mic off? What does it look like when to be present? When they say, oh, I'm present, teacher, I'm here, and you've got, 30 little squares on your screen. And how do we know everybody's ready? So camera on, in front of the camera, and supplies. How about that? All right, so an automatic bonus. How about a 1-minute bonus for everyone who has their camera, if the entire class has their camera on and they're sitting quietly ready to go when class starts. So let's say the meeting starts at 8:30 a.m. and at 8:30 a.m. you have your entire class sitting there ready to go. What happens? Hey class, I'm so happy we all are here ready to go, ready to jump in today. I'm going to give the entire class a bonus minute of PAT. You see that bonus minute that just popped up on your screen? Great. That's an automatic bonus. And they're usually just round numbers, just 1 minute, 2 minutes, whatever you want the bonus to be. It can be 30 seconds if you want. But this is a nice kind of whole number. a round number that you can just pop on and give it to them for cooperating. So it's automatic, but it's built in. So it's usually there when you have cooperation that's right place, right time, like on class, on time. But you could stack those bonuses, couldn't you? So how about logged in, camera on, and in front of the camera is that 1 minute they just got when class is ready. And an additional bonus if they're showing me that they have their materials up, right? So that's another bonus minute right there. Great, they got 2 bonus minutes and class hasn't just started. We're 1 second into class. So now we're encouraging everybody to show up on time, ready to go. Isn't that what all teachers want? Okay, now how can we even give a turbo boost to this? Well, what if they get 1 minute if everyone's on time, another minute if everyone has their materials? So that means if someone's late and not logged in, because it's all for one and one for all, we don't get the minute. Okay, so let's subtract that minute. Whoops, wrong way. And if not everybody is there on time, or I'm sorry, and not everybody has their supplies ready to go, that's another minute lost, or that they didn't get. Excuse me, it's not going to be lost, meaning we're not going to take it away. They just don't get it. So we've got 2 things going, 2 minutes that they can earn, right? Now, if they get one of them, they just get that minute. But if they do both at the same time, so everybody shows up to class, cameras on, face in front of the camera, on time, with their pen and pencil or whatever you deem the materials they need ready to go for the day, and they do all of those, instead of getting 2 separate 1 minutes, you give them a boost. So if you do both, you get 3 minutes. So if you only get 1, you get 1 minute. But if you get both, you get 3. So that 2 1-minute bonuses turns into a 3-minute bonus. So they're actually never going to get 2 minutes. You either get 1 or you get 3 minutes. Okay, so there's our 3-minute bonus. So that's how we can kind of stack automatic bonuses to make it, turbo boost it a little bit, give it a little bit of push. And that can be really fun. But think about all the things in your classroom that are just automatic. Right place, right time. I need your cooperation. All right, everybody shape up. All right, we got 3 seconds to, get everybody ready to go, whatever it is. If you have something that only costs 3 seconds, it's hard for them to save a second, okay? So you might give them a bonus 30 seconds for an attention bonus. All right, need everybody's attention. Now, whatever your need everybody's attention signal is maybe it's 3 claps. I need everybody's attention. And then everybody goes on time. Good. Every time everybody does it, everybody, then that's a 10-second bonus. You just give it to them right then. Okay? But if not everybody does it, not everybody was clapping. Sorry, guys. Not everybody's paying attention. But we got everybody's attention now, don't we? Great. All right, let's move forward. And they just don't get the bonus. So there's no subtraction when it comes to automatic bonuses. You either get it or you don't. Okay. But let's move on to a new type of bonus, or at least I'm kind of recategorizing some bonuses. And we're going to call that a class bonus. Now, if you've been through the training before, you haven't heard of this one, because I'm kind of reclassifying it. What we're doing is we're going to take those of you familiar with omission training and apply it to the whole class. Now, the thing with omission training is it's built for a kid who's just not cooperating at all and is always ruining it for the group. Well, what we do is we put them on their own schedule, and it becomes, how long can the student go without interrupting? Well, what if we did that for the whole class? Okay, so think about it this way. For every 10 consecutive minutes we have of on-task behavior, so the entire class is on task, no interruptions, no one leaves the screen, no one asks an inappropriate question or just blurts out, anything like that stops the clock. So we're talking 10 consecutive minutes of on-task behavior from the entire class. Now, does it have to be 10 minutes? No. Depending on the age of your kids, if they can only go 5 minutes, well, make it 5 minutes. Make it something that they can be successful with. Older kids, maybe it's 20 minutes, fine. For every 10 consecutive minutes of on-task behavior, I'm going to give the entire class 1 bonus minute of PAT. So 10 consecutive minutes of on-task behavior equals 1 bonus minute of PAT. Do you think we can do that? So class starts and we're already starting the clock. All right, class, you just got 3 minutes of bonus because everybody was on time, cameras on, all your materials, 3 bonus minutes to start off. Now I'm starting the clock. We got 10, so 10 minutes starts right now. And you go the first 10 minutes and you add a bonus minute. Fantastic. Restart the clock. Okay, so here's what it looks like. You got our same chart we've had the entire time. Okay, our 5 minutes of allowance plus the time we've saved plus that 3-minute bonus they got to start class. And now in the background, you've got your little egg timer with 10 minutes on. Now you can hold it up to the class. You can make sure that it's mounted and the kids can always see it. Maybe it's on the bookshelf behind you or something like that. But it's always there on your desk. Okay, and it goes ding, or there's some kind of reminder when it goes off. All right, class, we're starting the 10 minutes, and ding, 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 and 10 minutes goes by. Nobody interrupts. So we get a bonus minute, everybody. Bonus minute goes on the chart. Hold it up. Show everybody, here's our bonus minute. Let's start a new 10 minutes. 10 minutes starts ticking. Now, they either get it or they don't. Let's say 4 minutes in, somebody gets up and walks away from their camera. Oh, somebody walked away from the camera. I got to reset the timer. So you just pick up your egg timer, set it back to 10, and we just restart. So there's no penalty for not getting the class bonus, except not getting the class bonus. And so it's not about we're subtracting, we're only adding, right? We're only adding. And so here it is, a chance for the entire class to be on task, to be working for you and cooperating. And it's just another area for you to give them bonuses, to give them more time. Remember, the role of the teacher is that of a giver. Give, 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 and set it up for them to be successful. Okay? So another 10 minutes goes by. They finally get their next minute. Now, if they had to reset at 4 minutes, so it's been 24 minutes into class period, and they've got, another bonus minute, and they're ready to go. And meanwhile, you're still giving hurry up bonuses. You're still giving automatic bonuses. It's all working at the same time. PAT never stops. Even while they're playing the game, while you're doing PAT, you can have PAT going, right? So cooperation during PAT, meaning that they're playing the game right. No one's, kind of cheating. Kids like to kind of, push the rules and stuff. No one's going out of turn. Everybody's participating. You can still have that egg timer going and they start earning minutes towards the next PAT. So they're already on to the next chart during PAT. So PAT never stops, okay? All right, so we get to the end of the period. We said we're gonna play a game at 9 a.m. How long are we gonna play our game for? So it reaches 9 a.m., well, let's add it all up. We got 5 minutes plus 3 minutes is 8, plus 1 is 10 minutes, plus another 45 seconds. So 10 minutes, 45 seconds minus 2. So we had 10 minutes and 43 seconds worth of PAT. So now we're going to play our game. Fantastic. So they've earned more time. That's that added bonus time that they're in control of, and it gives them empowerment. They've doubled the amount of time that they would have had to play their game just by cooperating with you in lots of different ways all throughout your class period. So in a virtual classroom, here's what we want to do. We want to play PAT more often. So in a classroom, I suggest, like, if you've got juniors and seniors, you're in high school, maybe you can do PAT once a week for 20 minutes. But if you got little kids, you might do it 3 or 4 times a day. And let's say for 4th grade, they're old enough to do it maybe when you come in from lunch and at the end of the day. And maybe even start off the day with playing a game. So maybe you're doing it 3 times a day. This is up to you. You know how long your kids can go. Maybe if you're doing multiple class sessions, depending on how long they are, maybe you do one in the middle and one at the end, and then you take a break and you come back for the afternoon session on Zoom and you do that again. Maybe you just do it every hour. It's up to you. You know how long your kids can last. But in a virtual classroom, it's going to happen more often because it's harder for the kids to sit in front of their computers, right? Then we wanted to do it in shorter spurts. If you're going to do it more often, do it in short spurts. So you're not going to play a game for 40 minutes, right? You want to play a game for around 10 minutes, something quick. Maybe you only want to play a game for about 5 minutes. Well, then you give them a short allowance and you let them earn up to 5 minutes, okay? So you can kind of play those games in terms of figuring out how much allowance is too much allowance, those kind of things. But if you're going to play it more often, you play it in shorter spurts. So kids get to do a lesson, play a game. Do a lesson, play a game. Get rewarded for cooperating. Boom, 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 boom. Then you've got give, give, give. Okay, we're thinking of new ways to give. We're doing it. We've got hurry up bonuses, automatic bonuses, and classroom bonuses, okay, for cooperation. Give it, give it, give it. So if you want to start with a really small allowance because you're such a giver, and then they feel like they're earning so much, fantastic, go for it. And then fourth, we've got lean in on the classroom bonuses, okay? So that's that new thing that's really helping us drive in the virtual classroom. How can we get kids to pay attention for longer periods of time? Well, reward them for doing so, because it's really hard to reward kids for something that they don't do, right? So all you can kind of say is thank you guys for not being disruptive in the last 10 minutes. But if we're going to put a time limit on it, then you can reward them for being so cooperative for the last 10 minutes, right? And so you're giving them something in return. And that's that whole idea of why should I? Well, why should you? Because if you cooperate with me and do what I want to do, I'm going to give you some time where you get to choose what you want to do. So there's a back and forth there, and it shows that you're a giver, that you are really willing to work with them, and it gives them some empowerment over what goes on in the classroom. Now let's talk about the types of activities. We've got about 5 minutes left here. What types of activities do we do in a Zoom PAT? Well, you guys have probably already thought of more than I ever could have, or collectively. But there's some ideas here. Let's think of the guidelines for these activities. One, they have to be interactive. Well, they don't have to be, but we'd like them to be interactive. The kids with each other. What are they missing when they're home all this time? They're missing their friends. They're missing interactivity. They're missing doing something with another kid. So the more interactive they are and they get to interact with each other and not just with the teacher, then the better it can be. And if you're, you can do breakout rooms in Zoom. You can do pairs, things like that. It might be a little bit harder to monitor a bunch of breakout rooms, but if your kids are fairly responsible and you can do it in short spurts, maybe you can trust them, but have them doing stuff with each other. The other thing is, so in addition, another way of looking at that is being social. They want to share what they're doing in their lives, things like that. So have the games, let them contribute to the games and be social. And that's another way of saying interactive. Involve movement. They've been sitting in front of a computer, right? They're getting a little bit antsy. Involve movement in the games. It's okay to get up and do a game of Simon Says, or just have a dance break. You could have, we got 3-minute PAT. Let's have a dance party for 3 minutes. I'm going to play 10 songs here, and you pop in 10 songs on your phone, and you every 10 seconds you play another song, and they dance a different way or whatever it is. Involve movement. And then lastly, provide a mental reset. The kids are under stress. This isn't anybody's first choice right now to be in this virtual classroom. And so give them a break. You don't have to drive them so much. I'm afraid teachers are going to get caught up in feeling they've got to cover the material maybe more now than ever. or maybe it's having the opposite effect for some teachers, like, this is not ideal. Let's make it as fun as possible. I'm more in that camp. And so give the kids a chance to mentally reset. So these are kind of the goals of PAT. It just breaks up their day a little bit, gives them something to work for, and allows them to enjoy. We want the Zoom meeting to be a place that they look forward to going. And so by using PAT, we're providing something for them to do and look forward to. And so that's why all these things are important. All these guidelines, are important when thinking of the activities to do. So let's get rid of the whole picture-in-picture here. And I'll get rid of my green screen. And before we go, we were talking about types of games. So I gave you some guidelines to kind of build games. I'd love to hear what games you guys are using in your classrooms, but in terms of resources, let me just throw out some quick games real quick. One, Simon Says. That's an easy game where everybody can play along. They get eliminated. Everybody knows how to play Simon Says. And if you just need a quick 5-minute PAT, the teacher can be the leader. One of the kids can be the leader. Maybe if they win, you get, there's a time limit. So you go, let's say you got 8 minutes of PAT and you get to be the leader for 2 minutes or for 1 minute. And then at the end, whoever's left, or if you get a winner, then the winner gets to become Simon. That's how it's always worked on the playground, right? So then you play until the 8 minutes and then boom, end of game. Don't forget, don't go over. Don't let them play the game longer than maybe you would. Well, you can be a little generous if you want, but the idea is that they've earned that time. But if it's time to refocus and get back to it, then, all right, end of game, on to the next lesson. So it's a break between lessons. Fred Jones' system reminded me of what's done in ABA therapy. Well, I'm not familiar that much with ABA therapy, but I'm sure Fred is because of, his background in psychology. And a lot of this just comes from good psychology. Okay, so another game, movement memory. This is like the Whip It game and things. So one student does one clap, and then the next student has to do the clap and then add a movement. So it's a clap plus an ear pull. And then the third student has to go clap, ear pull, stick your tongue out. So then the student has to go clap, ear pull, stick your tongue out, tweak your nose. And then add on and on and on. And then when someone can't remember all the steps, then we reset and let them start a new game. And just so we call that movement memory. And it's just a fun game where everybody's interacting, everybody's gets to add their own little bit to it. And it's just fun. Okay, so these are simple games. Now you might think these are games for elementary school kids. Not necessarily, right? You'd be surprised at what games the high school kids are willing to play. So we've got movement memory, a simple show and tell. We want to talk about kind of something that the kids can share and be social with. A simple show and tell. We've got 10 minutes for show and tell. Everybody run to your bedroom and get something that you want to share with us, and everybody gets X amount of time. That can be fun. Story time. I gave the example of story time during the bedtime story. Do you just want extra time to read with the kids? If you've got the capability, maybe you can have the words up on the screen so the kids can read along with you. If you've got a separate camera or Google Docs or screen share, if you do a screen share and you're reading along in like an ebook or something, the kids can read along with you. So just some extra story time is a great time to spend with the students. Maybe not as interactive as some of the other activities, but still quality, of course. And then another great game to play is Password. You guys have all seen Password, or what is it, $50,000 Pyramid, or whatever it is, where you've got to describe a word without using the word, or Taboo. Taboo is a great game. If you've got Taboo, you can hold the card up to the screen, and you have to describe a word without using the taboo words, without using the most common words to describe that. Well, it's okay if you need to leave. This will be posted. It'll be up on Facebook if you want to see the end of it. So you can always come back later. This will be up for a little while. So Taboo is a great game to play. Let me give you some resources before we go here, just in the last minute or two, um, of places that I've found online. I just went through yesterday, did a YouTube search for just YouTube search Zoom Zoom classroom games or Zoom games that you can play on Zoom. So we've got there's Everything Asia. So YouTube search Everything Asia, and that's a YouTuber that does kind of party games. She does a whole series of Zoom games. Some are for the classroom, some are for game night, but they can always be um, adjusted and made for your classroom. So Everything Asia is a YouTuber that's doing some Zoom stuff right now. Then you've got another YouTuber her name is Sean M. Howell. So if you just search Sean M. Howell on YouTube, you'll find her, and she's got a lot of quick games, and she'll do her top 25 Zoom games. Some of them are appropriate for the classroom. Some of them, you may or may not like. You can do those things. And then you've got, but one of the games that she highlighted and did a little thing on that I looked up is, let's get her off of there, is triviamaker.com. If you haven't been to here yet, now you probably already have ways to do Google Docs and share your games and things, but triviamaker.com is a software. It's a free service. The free service is pretty good. They've got kind of a pro pay service that's, I think, like $7 a month or something like that. But check it out. It's got graphics, and you can do kind of like Wheel of Fortune type games, Jeopardy type games, Family Feud type game. There's 4 game types on there, and they've got preloaded games, but you can also add your own questions. So and the kids can interact and use it through screen share. So that can be kind of a fun way to kind of do trivia style questions. So if you're reviewing for a test, or you want to review the subject matter of the day, you can kind of build in those types of questions. So in addition to doing kind of the fun, just activity games, you can get into doing more academic games and things with just with a little research online. So thank you for joining me today. I had some fun with you guys, and it's been great kind of explaining explaining where we're coming from and how we want to do this. Look for our some more Facebook Live videos coming in the future. I'm hoping to make it a semi-regular thing. So please follow if you're not following us already. And then I'm also thinking about putting together a Facebook group for Tools for Teaching users. So if you're interested in that, I got 14 people on here right now. So check back in a couple minutes. I will create a Facebook group right now. We've never done it before. So I'll go ahead and create a Facebook group, and it should be ready in the next few minutes. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed our very first Facebook Live with me, Patrick Jones, and I hope to be doing more in the future. Let us know in the comments and on Facebook if you found this valuable, and if you'd want to do more. Let us know if there's other topics you'd want, relating tools for teaching that you'd want to do. We might bring in some people to interview, do some teacher interviews, and see how things are going in their virtual classrooms. We've got some ideas. So hopefully you'll join us again in the future. And thank you so much. Bye-bye.